Hello, everybody. Good morning. And we are in for a trip for this podcast. It's going to be wonderful. I'm so excited. To start off, we are in a mythical place. Close to Geneva in Switzerland, we are in CERN. And within CERN, we are in a magical place. A Fab Lab, CERN level Fab Lab. We are in Idea Square. The purpose of Idea Square is to bring together people to generate new ideas and work on conceptual prototypes in an open environment and contribute to knowledge transfer. So you're going to see some pictures that I'll post. It's an exchange place where just walking inside, ideas start to throw in your head and to be present. And we are here today thanks to Marco Manca. Start again. What? Good morning, everybody, and this is a new edition of the Curious Kids podcast, and we are in for a treat today. This is going to be so wonderful. I'm so excited. To start off, we are in a mythical place close to Geneva in Switzerland. It's called the CERN. Within CERN, we are in a magical place which is called Idea Square. Idea Square is a Fab Lab CERN level, and the purpose is to bring together people to generate new ideas and work on conceptual prototypes and in a totally open environment to contribute to knowledge transfer and skyrocket your innovation. You should, in the show notes, I'll give you all the links. You have to go and read some about it. It's just fantastic. And why we are here today? We are here because we've been invited by a really special person that I adore. He happens to be Italian and he's great. And he founded and is the president of a foundation which is called Simples. He is Marco Manca. Hello, Marco.
Hello, Matteo. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yourself?
I'm not too bad, thanks.
Not too bad. And with us there's also Jérôme Claire.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Matteo, Marco. Nice meeting you too.
Nice to be here. So Marco Manca is from the medical division of...
It's called Medical Application Office.
Medical Application Office, exactly. And he has welcomed us here at CERN to talk about his foundation, Simples. And it's really interesting. We're going to find out about it later on. And Jérôme Claire is a special guest today here with us from Enalina.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me. I am in charge of the business development and working for a few years in the innovation business development.
Okay, thank you. And so Marco, can you tell me a couple of words about yourself and what you're doing?
Okay. By education, I'm a medical doctor. I graduated at the University of Bologna. I mostly practiced in internal medicine, in close contact with patients. But at the same time, I always cultivated a curiosity for physics and mathematics and more basic sciences. And this has been shaped my career. So I've been working in Maastricht for setting up a team of system biology. And then I was summoned here when CERN created the Medical Application Office as a senior research fellow of the Directorate General.
Okay.
I created Simples Foundation when I was still in Maastricht as an attempt to create a legal container for that kind of research, interdisciplinary and high risk, that is so often used as a flag by funders and policymakers, but it's in reality strictly underfunded and finds a lot of obstacles from the incentive systems. That's
okay. So what's the main mission of the foundation?
The mission is extremely grand. In general, it's to enhance human condition in the future. So it's a strictly philanthropic initiative. But the practice, it's a bit more specific. We have created two pillars, which have been named fearless and I.M.Mortal, playing around the immortal or immortal spelling. And they are the Fearless is dedicated to innovation, so those projects that are testing in sandbox, what's the impact of introducing something in communities, and trying to make sense of what governance needs and what new uses, empowerments and risks emerge once this becomes commonplace. And immortal is really basic science and R&D.
Okay.
That's
And when did you found the foundation?
I'm terrible with dates. I remember the year. It was 2013.
2013.
Yes.
Okay. And what are some of your projects that you're working on now?
Okay. Well, I will start possibly with the most recent one because it's already spinning off. It's Let Me See was the name of the project inside Simpulse, and now it's called SoundSight. The idea was to design and develop technologies to assist blind people navigating living environments. So this should have been real-time technologies. They should have had enough resolution to allow them to recognize quite finely what was going on around them. And the spin-off has taken a very specific declination of this, because during the work we discovered that most of the blind people are a bit distressed by the idea of depending from technological mediation to explore their surroundings, the cane or even the dogs. Okay, it's a fantastic companion, but it's making a bit artificial the navigation in real environments. And at the same time, there's a general lack of attention for their education. Most of the blind empowerment rhetorics tend nowadays to converge around the technical solutionism. And we discovered that there's this human ability which is echolocation. It's the possibility of learning about one's surroundings by the echo of a
so humans like bats, for example,
in a way,
or
yes.
dolphins?
Like, okay, of course, those are very specialized animals. They can chirp with very well, very easy. How to say no? The word is
sounds.
Yeah, it's not about the sound. It's about the shape. They are able to modulate. Okay, they are able to modulate these chirps, so they are able to get very rich informations about the surrounding, while humans are still limited to, as instance, tongue clicking or whistling or things like that. But from the echo they receive, they can guess quite a few details about their surrounding. There's people that have learned this technique spontaneously and are even able to bike around or to tell whether they have a tree or a chair by their sides.
So you're telling me that people, by emitting a sound like a similar sound to this, they can learn to understand.
With appropriate training, yes.
With appropriate training,
yes.
The environment, and they can ride a bike.
Of course, they will not ride it as the Tour de France, but yes, there's people that have demonstrated this ability. And there are neuroscientific studies that have proven that even people that are not blind could, if they really wanted, learn this kind of technique.
It's a great opportunity could you explain us what was the motivation at the beginning of this project and how you run through and you're able today to spin out a company or a solution that people will use in the near future?
So about the motivation, I don't like too much to connect the dot backwards, so I will admit it was a bit of serendipity.
Okay.
We had a person that was very interested from the scientific point of view, in a rather exotic, well, now I'm not being fair to him, but rather exotic technique for signal analysis. he had done his own thesis in Newcastle upon Tyne about near-field holography. And near-field holography is a relatively recent technique that can be applied to electromagnetic fields, which is what he did studying electrophysiology, or to the acoustic field. And we started thinking of applications for the acoustic field, initially thinking also of medical imaging like ultrasonography, but quite quickly converging also on other kind of applications, like exactly the environmental sensing and imaging. And then we had the opportunity of proposing a challenge here in Idea Square for the challenge-based innovation activity. And I proposed that one team could work in general on the empowerment of blind people to navigate freely into living environment. The team has had some very interesting dynamics that I would like not to describe here. It would be long, but a few of them getting in touch with blind people and their families discovered a desire to have specific training tools for the young people. They discovered that these people sometimes get isolated in very tiny ways, if you want, that have a huge impact on their quality of life. For instance, we all have experienced physical education at school, playing football, I don't know. There is not an alternative that is automatically offered to them. And physical education is so much more than just physical education as we think of it. It's about socializing, it's about exploring your own motility, own capability to interact with the outside environment. So they started thinking about a number of, I may say, relatively naive ideas, but then we decided to bring them in touch with our own fellow, Henrik. And the idea started shaping into something a bit different. They started thinking they could design wearables. The wearables were difficult to design, so they started imagining alternative solutions, and at some point the proposal came up to build an acoustic, a completely only acoustic virtual reality for training.
So an acoustic virtual
wearable? Virtual reality, just virtual reality, not wearable any longer. The idea was, okay, maybe we can actually teach them something that they can then do on their own without the need of having any technical mediation. We started studying the physiological literature, a bit of neuroscience. We started testing the feasibility, and in the end we ended up with a product that is there's now a demonstration that will become available publicly via the Kickstarter campaign on Monday.
On Monday, okay.
Yeah.
And how does this product, what's the shape? Is it an Oculus?
No. It's okay. That's a common question, because we imagine virtual reality as something that has to involve our eyes, but in reality it's just a rather normal headphone set.
Okay.
And everything is just done on the software side. This is receiving the sound emitted by the sound of choice emitted by the subject. So he can whistle, he can tongue click or whatever else he wants to do. And it's running in real time as a physical simulation of the distribution of these sound waves in an environment, feeding back the realistic echo to his ears.
You mean that by listening I will be able to imagine and see my environment?
Well, in a way we have this experience every day. Imagine the difference in what you listen to when you are singing under the shower or when you are speaking to somebody in a small corridor or in a huge hall. So we have some hints every day. Now the point is, in order to refine this sense enough, it's it's a bit like musical education. Anyone can listen to music, but if you want to be like Mozart, listen to a symphony and then rewrite it back all the instruction for all the instruments, you need to be able to distinguish all the sounds that you have heard, their feature, their tones. And this gets a bit more sophisticated. Now, while for music we have clearly musicians that have honed their capacity and that can teach it, for echolocation it's a lot more rare to find people that have learned this and that can teach on which feature to focus and what are the tricks. So a virtual reality which incorporates a number of tests which can also be personalized. For instance, the blind people could decide at some point to upload a CAD of their own office or their own home with details of their furniture, and they could move the furniture in order to figure out whether they are able to pick up the differences in signals when different objects are disposed differently.
That will change their life. I mean, that could change your life in a way that you don't have to live in a static environment. Now everything can move around, and the echolocation headset could help you to see or to.
Well, the idea is that the headset will be left at some point.
Yes.
You will just learn to do it.
Oh, so it's a transition.
Yeah,
Yes.
you use the headset because it's difficult to prepare all the different scenarios and tests in real life, while it's quite easy to upload a scenario, start your software and start training.
So
But once you learn, these people will just go out there the same way when we learned swimming, we would just swim.
So it's really empowering the people by learning
That's our goal. Yeah.
and training. Okay.
It's fantastic. And do you have any ideas of how long it would take for someone to, or it's totally variable according to the person?
It's a bit
time
variable,
spans?
and one of the plans of the foundation is to support trials to figure out what are the determinants of this variability and whether it can a program can be tweaked. In principle, we have seen with our early volunteers that they could start picking up relatively small details after as little as 6 weeks, but they were honestly tests, not tests of navigation. They would just figure out whether we were moving a panel around them or.
Have you tried it yourself, and can you echolocate things somehow?
I have to admit I'm planning it, but I didn't have time yet. It's most of the work has been done in Denmark and in Italy, and being in between, it was very good to coordinate everyone, but not so much to dirty a bit my hands with the tests.
Okay, so I still have not clearly understood the mechanism by which you learn. So you have a headset on, you configure a virtual environment, which can be a real one or whatever you want to configure, and then you test sounds and you get the echo back. But
yes.
I still
so you have to. It's a trial and error mechanism. You receive a feedback about what was your position and the relative positions of objects. There is a mechanical interface for that, a plate with needles that will offer you the shape of as a touchable, the shape of the environment that you were testing.
Okay, so you emit a sound and you receive a feedback on a
yes.
touchable machine.
Yeah, and because you can make small but sensible changes, you start focusing on the features. Unfortunately, there's no way we encode in the machine what would be the right feature for every environment. It's really just, at the end, a trial and error mechanism.
And people will be able to share their experiences? Is that
yes, we are going to develop also a social platform where they could even compete with each other.
Wow.
So the idea is to arrange small treasure hunts on the web or things like that, where people once have enough confidence with the method could play with each other.
So I'm going to put the podcast online tonight.
Okay.
Since your campaign is on Monday,
Okay.
so we will have the podcast before the
great.
Kickstarter campaign, if that's okay.
So I will tell the name. It's SoundSight training on Kickstarter.
SoundSight training on Kickstarter, wonderful.
Okay.
And that's fantastic. So there's already a real concrete product that is going to
Yes.
change life.
And you may know that Kickstarter does a review of the projects you propose to launch, yeah. And normally they want to verify that it's solid enough, it's clear what it's doing. Our proposal was accepted in 6 hours, so I think it's.
Congratulations.
Of course, the only measure is at the end the success of the campaign, but so far so good. It's.
And it's a multi-site and multi-profile team. Can you speak a little bit about the team again?
Okay, the core team is Irene Lanza. She is still a student of industrial engineering at the University of Modena. She was one of the volunteers of the CBI. And she agreed to be the pacemaker of the initiative, so she is serving as the CEO. Henrik Kilsen is an engineer and a PhD in neuroscience from the University of Newcastle upon Tyne. His thesis was, as I told you, on this exotic method for electroencephalography analysis. Terrific technique, I have to say. He is actually also involved in another startup in Silicon Valley that is trying to exploit the work of his own thesis. And me as the medical officer, sort of, so I'm helping them with the strategy, navigating through the issues of things that could get perceived as medicalized. And then a few other co-workers. There's Tagi Aliyev from the University of Maastricht. He's working with me on some bioinformatics projects, but he's also supporting the development team. And then without the blind people themselves, we couldn't do anything. There's Luca, there's Cecilia. They've been testing the first early prototypes. They have been giving us feedbacks. They have offered to be testimonials for the campaigns. It's
Great.
It's a large family.
That's great.
So that is amazing. You are somehow transforming humans into superhumans.
Well, yes. Sometimes the idea of talking about the superpower has emerged during our conversation with stakeholders. Yes, it's. But we like to think it's not about being superheroes. This is really about honing your own skills. Everyone could do it.